Okay, third graders, so I'm going over the entire week. What we're going to be working on this week is going to be putting fractions on a number line. So this is in your iReady instruction book, and this is going to start on page 162. We're going to go through the entire lesson, which is lesson 15, starting on page 162. It should be a blue page, and the title is Understand Fractions on a Number Line. How do number lines help us understand fractions? You are used to seeing a number line shown with whole numbers, such as this. We've done number lines before. We did number lines with our multiplication facts where we were skip counting. So make sure your number line always starts at 0. Now the difference in what you see here, these are whole numbers. So we're just counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When we do fractions on a number line, we're actually going to be cutting up each of our whole numbers. Think of these as 4 candy bars. And if I wanted to cut up one candy bar into more than one piece, we would be making fractions. So look what happened. Do you see how our number line changed and now it's only showing 0 to 1? All of those other whole numbers have disappeared. So what we did is we took that one whole candy bar or one whole piece and we cut it into equal size groups. So when you're counting, and I attached some other videos to your Google Classroom assignment, and they're going to talk about when you're counting your pieces to get your denominator, because remember our denominator is our total. When you're counting those pieces, make sure you're counting the sections. You're not counting the lines. We don't count the lines when we're doing these fractions. We're going to be counting the sections. So you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces are 4 sections. So that tells me that my denominator, if you'll look, all of our denominators are 4 because we have 4 total parts or sections or pieces. Each one of those sections is a unit fraction. That's why you see 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. There are 4 sections between 0 and 1. So each of those fractional parts would be 1/4. Now let's look at the next page and do some more practicing. This kind of explains it a little bit better to you. You see those 4s. I like how they put a rectangle and cut it up because we're used to seeing those equal group parts on our shapes. And now we're going to label each one of those lines, okay? So from 0 to the first line, we just have 1 out of 4 pieces, so that would be our 1/4. On the second line, we're now counting 2. 1, 2 of those 4, so our fraction is 2/4. On this third line, we're counting 1, 2, 3 of those sections, so our fraction is 3/4. And if we go all the way across to our 1, we end up with 4/4. And remember, when your numerator and denominator match, that's a whole number. So 4/4 gets us to the number 1. Now sometimes you can have fractions that are greater than 1. Take your pencil for me and let's underline greater than 1. Actually, I'm going to box it out. Greater than 1. Fractions can go bigger than 1. Look what happens. Circle these last fractions. Look what happens when we go past 1. Your numerator turns into the larger number. 5 is bigger than 4, so that numerator 5 is larger than the denominator 4. 6/4, 6 is bigger. 7/4, 7 is bigger. 8/4, 8 is bigger. So when you pass your whole number 1, you end up with what we call an improper fraction. The reason it's improper is because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Remember, your numerator's on top of your fraction, your denominator's on bottom. So when you pass your whole number 1, when we got to 4/4, all the fractions after 4/4 are improper fractions because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. 8/4, look, 8/4 is the number 2, is the whole number 2. We think of fractions as division problems. So what does 8/4 mean? It means 8 divided by 4, which we know is 2. That's why these equal each other. A fraction is just a fancy way of making a division problem. Let's look at our question we're going to answer. How many thirds, 1/3, or thirds, are there between 0 and 1 on a number line? How do you know? Let's draw our number line. So remember I told you your number line needs to start at 0. We are not needing a fraction to go past 1 because this is not improper. 1, the numerator is smaller than that denominator 3. Think about what 1/3 means. It means I want 1 part and there are 3 total. Remember, our denominator is our total. So that tells me I need 3 sections between 0 and 1, and I'm going to want one of those 3 sections. So first, let's make our 3 sections. We want to cut our number line. Remember, we're not counting the lines, we're counting our sections. We want to have 1, 2, 3 sections. I'm going to take those boxes off, but I wanted you to see that I'm counting those sections. So my number line is going to start at 0. It's going to have 3 equal sized sections, 1, 2, 3, and it stops at 1 because we do not have an improper fraction. I want one of those. So here would be 1/3. This next line would be 2/3, and then our whole number, our 1, would be 3/3. So if I labeled all of those tick marks on my number line, this is what it would look like. 0, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, which is also equal to 1. How do I know? First, how many thirds did we have? We had 3/3. So we're going to say there are 3/3 because my denominator is 3. That's exactly why I have 3/3. We have 3/3 because our denominator, or our total, remember denominator's on the bottom, it's also our total, is 3. Okay, let's keep moving. Still working on number lines. This is going on to page 164. Number 2. Look at the section between 0 and 1 on the number line below. How many equal parts are there? So remember, we're counting the sections. We are not counting the lines. So I see 1 equal part from here to here. That's 1, 2, 3. So I can see there are 3 equal parts. Did everybody see what I counted? 1, 2, 3. There were 3 equal parts. 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we got that. What fraction is each? Remember, that's a unit fraction. Each part show. So if I wanted just 1 part, it would be 1 out of 3. So that fraction would be 1/3. That is your unit fraction, by the way. Or unit fraction, each meaning 1. Write the missing labels on the line. So if I go from 0 to 1, I'm only going to have 1/3 of that whole bar. If I go from 1/3 to the next tick mark, now I have 2 of them, so that's 2/3. And if I go all the way to the end, which is where the whole number is, I would need 3/3. I would need all of those 3 pieces to get to that whole number. Number 3. Look at the section between 0 and 1. Again, we're not going past 1, so these are not going to be improper. That means my numerator should be smaller. How many equal parts are there? Well, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, I'm counting the parts, not the lines. There are 8 equal parts, so 8. That tells me my denominator on all my fractions needs to be 8. What fraction does each? Each is a unit. So if I only wanted one part, that would be 1/8. Because of those 8 equal pieces, that's my denominator. Each means 1, that's my unit fraction. I'm going to go ahead and write unit here too. We need to definitely know that word. Write the missing label, so let's go ahead and label. One section would be 1/8. 2 sections would be 2/8. 3 sections would be 3/8, that's right. 4 sections, 4/8. 5 sections, 5/8. 6 sections, 6/8. 7 sections, 7/8. And 8 sections, or my whole number would be 8/8. We're just adding a unit fraction each time. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 8/8 gets us to the whole number. All right, number 4. I'm going to have to erase this, so I hope you've gotten that. If not, go back and rewind it and look back at it. Number 4, same thing. How many equal parts? Let's count our equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tells me my denominator is going to be 6 because I have 6 equal parts. What fraction does each? That's my unit fraction. So if I wanted one part, that would be 1/6. That's my unit. I'm going to write unit again. Now we're going to label them. So one part would be 1/6. 2 parts, 2/6. 3 parts, 3/6. 4/6. 5/6. And then my whole number, or if I wanted all of it, I would have 6 out of 6 parts. All right, let's keep moving right along, working with these number lines. This is page 165. Number 5. Look at the number lines in 2 through 4. How is showing fractions on a number line like showing fractions using model? They both are going to have what? Equal parts, or a total. Both have a total of equal parts. It's just like if we took your rectangles that we've been working with and cutting up into equal size pieces, if we pick that rectangle up and put it on a number line, that's what we're doing when we have these number lines with fractions. Too far. Number 6, look at the section between the whole numbers on the number line. Look, all right, the difference now is they are giving you more than just one whole number. So I have 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. That means from 1 forward, those are going to be improper fractions. You're going to do the same thing you've been doing to get your denominator. To find our denominator, we start at 0 and we count to 1. So I want you to circle those two numbers, 0 and 1. Actually, I'm going to do it on the tops because I want you to really understand this. To get your denominator, your total number, you only count between 0 and 1. We're not going to worry about anything else on this number line. We just want to focus on 0 and 1 until we figure out our denominator. So when it asks you how many equal parts, some of you are going to go, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, you've already messed up. When we count our equal parts, we're only going to count between 0 and 1. So you might make a note over here that you only count between your 0 and your first whole number. So how many equal parts are between 0 and 1? 1, 2. There are only 2 equal parts between 0 and 1. What fraction does each part show? That's still a unit fraction. So if there's 2 parts between my whole numbers, my unit fraction is going to be 1/2. Each part would be 1 out of 2, or 1/2. Each mark on the line represents a fraction. What denominator will all the fractions have? They are all going to have 2 because there are 2 equal parts between each of my whole numbers. That is the most important thing for you to understand, is when we're getting our denominator, our total number of parts, we're only counting from 0 to 1. I don't care what's on the rest of the number line. All I want to find is 0 and 1. I want you to put that somewhere in that brain and lock it away. When you need a denominator, you only count from 0 to 1. Write the missing labels on the number line. So they all have to have a denominator of 2 because we had 2 equal parts from 0 to 1. So everybody has a denominator of 2 all the way down. So go ahead and put all those 2's. Now, if I only want the first section, that's 1 out of 2. If I want the second section, that's 2 out of 2. Third line, now it's improper because we've passed our whole number 1. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7 halves, and 8 halves. From 1 down, they are improper because we have gone past our whole number 1. Number 7 is going to ask you about that. Look at the fractions you wrote on the number line above that are greater than 1. So they want us to look at all of these fractions that are greater than 1. I'm going to put them in a red box. What do you notice about the numerator and denominator? I've already told you this. Once you pass 1, let's do it in black so y'all can see it. When you pass 1, your numerator is greater than your denominator. Once you pass that whole number 1, you turn into what we call an improper fraction. Let's go ahead and put that over here too. Improper. Let's learn that word. That's a big 4th, 5th, 6th grade high school word. An improper fraction happens when you pass 1. When you pass that 1, your numerator is greater than your denominator. But that only is going to happen once you pass that whole number 1. That's my big red box that you see here. Alright, this is going to disappear, but you can always rewind and go back. 8 and 9, you're kind of practicing on your own, so please do that before I continue. Pause the video, answer that, and then we'll come back and check it. Number 8, look at the number line below. What fraction's at A? So we're not going to worry about just A. We're going to go ahead and label all of them. First, we got to get our denominator. Remember, to find your denominator, you count your sections from 0 to 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting the spaces, not the lines. So there are 4 sections from 0 to 1. That means all of my denominators would have to be 4. The first line would be 1 out of 4. The second line would be 2/4, 3/4, and then 1, of course, would be 4/4. A is on 3/4 because it's the third section out of 4 total sections. Number 9, finding B. First thing I notice is B has gone past a different whole number than 1. So I'm not going to worry about B until I figure out what are my sections going to be. Remember, we only look from 0 to 1. So I'm going to count just these sections from 0 to 1. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 sections from 0 to 1. 3 sections means my denominator on every single line is going to be 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3 all the way down my line. Even those whole numbers have a denominator of 3 because 3 sections between every single whole number. 0 to 1, 3 sections. Now I'm going to count my numerators. The first line would be 1/3, 1 out of 3. Second line, 2 out of 3. The whole number 1, of course, is 3 out of 3. Do not skip your whole numbers. They need a number. Then 4 out of 3, 5 out of 3. That 2 is going to be 6 out of 3. Can't skip it. We don't go 5, 2, do we, when we're counting? No, we say 5, 6. B then would be 7 out of 3, 8 out of 3, and that 3 would be 9 out of 3. Again, we don't skip those whole numbers. They're aligned, they get a fraction. So B is the 7th section out of 3. It's an improper fraction because we went past the whole number 1. So 7/3. Now this is a lot to take in and a lot of things you've got to be really careful about. That's why we're working on it this entire week. You can go back and rewatch that at any time you can. All right, now we're to your green pages, which is mostly for you to try, but we are going to go over it. I would like for you to work it first and then go back and watch my video. Maybe pause it and work them out. Whoops, too big. So this is 166, and it should be green. Number 10. Look at the number line below. Amari says that A is at 7/8. Is she right? Okay. Well, I already know she's wrong. Can y'all explain to me why she's already wrong? A went past 1, didn't it? Anything that goes past the whole number 1 has to be improper, doesn't it? And her fraction is not improper. 7 is smaller than 8. The numerator is smaller than the denominator. So I already know she's wrong because she should have put an improper fraction. So let's figure out why she's wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and say, is she right? No. Because I already know that this is a wrong answer because hers should be improper. How then did she get 7/8? Let's see what it should have been. She should have counted from 0 to 1. I'm going to say she went all the way to the end of the number line. She knows when you're doing fractions, you only focus on the 1, the whole number 1. How many sections do we have between 0 and 1? There's 4. Her denominator should have been 4. She just counted to the end of the line, which is what some of you guys are going to do too, and you're going to miss them if you do that. You only count from 0 to 1. I don't know how many times I need to say that, but I need you to know you only count from 0 to 1. No, because her denominator should be 4. She counted past the whole number 1. That's her first mistake. She counted to the end of the number line instead of stopping at the whole number 1. So no, because her denominator should be 4. All right, let's go ahead and label these fractions and see what A is. So if they're 4, that means every one of these lines should have a 4, including our whole numbers, should have a 4 on the bottom. So the first tick mark should be 1/4, then 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 is my whole number 1, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, and my 2 should have been 8/4. She should have gotten 7/4 for her answer. So let's tell them that too. She should have gotten 7/4 for letter A. She got her 7 right because she counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I'm on that 7th mark. She got her 7 right, but she missed her denominator, just like some of you will, because she counted past 1. To get your total, your denominator, you're going to stop counting your sections once you reach the whole number 1. Number 11, use the number line to show the fraction 4/6. So they've only got 1 on here, so don't have to worry about improper fractions here because it starts at 0 and it ends at 1. There won't be any improper fractions when you only have 1. So to make 4/6, first I need to find my total. So I want you to write total on the bottom. Put won't on the top, because 4 is what we want, but 6 is what our total is. So we need to cut this line into 6 equal size sections. So I like to use my multiplication facts, my 2's, because I know in the middle of this line would be my 2 sections. So, and I know 6 divided by 2 is 3, so that tells me there needs to be 3 sections in the front and 3 sections in the back. Another hint for you is whatever your total is, you're always drawing 1 less line. I'm going to do a second video because this one is paused, so it's gotten too long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and then I will start a new video, so there'll actually be 2 parts.